I like the animal because
And that sounds, what's the word? That sounds kind of woo-woo.
put in the work, do the work, and then flip it.
And be prepared to fall out of love.
And how soon do you want to exit?
You just have to start looking. You have to start learning.
But I'm always open.
That's always red signs, red flags.
There's a lot of false prophets out there.
I'm going to put you in a situation that doesn't work for you.
Find people that are out there doing it.
A lot of people can't let go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Chad Peterson, the brains behind Peterson Acquisitions. And by the way, he's been in the game over 20 years. He just had his 20th year anniversary. He's the best-selling author of Quantum Stack Investing, a guy who's built and sold 6 companies from the ground up. He's got the highest closing rate in the game when it comes to selling businesses. If you want real talk about winning, building, and cashing out, buckle up. This guy's the real deal. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Hey, thanks for having me.
A lot of people potentially can be misguided by what quantum stack investing is. Tell us exactly what you do and how you do it.
Every business owner should read Quantum Stack Investing because it teaches you how to run businesses in an unorthodox way that actually makes it safe to run a business. And so the 3 words of the book is Quantum Stack Investing. Number 1 is going to show you how to take a quantum leap into wealth. Number 2 is going to show you how you can stack your odds in your favor like a bank or a casino would. So most businesses don't have any odds stacked in their favor. They're out there in the market trying to win, and oftentimes they don't. So we show business owners how to run their business to stack the odds in their favor like a bank or a casino would. And then investing. Most business owners, they run their business like it's a business, like it's a job, but they should be running their business like it's an investment. So you should be planning on selling your business every 4 or 5 years because liquidity leads to wealth. Most people owning a business, they make paychecks, but paychecks lead to poverty. Liquidity leads to wealth. So if you have an exit every 4 or 5 years, you can exponentially grow your wealth because liquidity can leverage into larger dollars. So you could be making $200,000 a year at your company right now. Sell your company in 4 or 5 years, you could walk with, say, $600,000 or $800,000 at the exit if you only made $200,000 a year. But I could put you into a $7 million business, paying you $2.2 million a year. So you can go from making $200,000 to $2.2 million. But you can't do it if you don't read my book. You have to know how liquidity leads to wealth.
Right on. So, what is your ideal client that need your services? Because I know you work with the Small Business Association, right? Tell us a little bit more about
administration.
Yeah.
The ideal client for me is somebody who's ran their business and they've made it. They've done a pretty good job. They've made pretty good money, and they're just burned out and bored. And they like to sell their business for $3, $4, $5 million and then move up. That's my ideal client. So somebody who is successful, but a little burned out, lost their passion, wants to move on. Now that's somebody I can really help. But if you're starting a business right now and you really need the tools to where you can get there, then I would suggest read my book because you more than likely won't get to that point if you don't run your company a certain way that yields those results. And I find that the business coaching world is so saturated that you're going to get 50 different opinions about how you should run your business. My book is 420 pages, and everything is in there on how you run your business for success. Everything.
Amen. And a lot of people, think, it's not hard work or there's a lot of hacks, but ultimately, for me, I've been doing this gig 30 years and running a business is every day. And unfortunately, I haven't learned how to buy and sell besides real estate and or scaling my own company. So I'm not alone. Like you said, there's earlier you were telling us about the book is about wealth, time, and freedom, right? Ultimately, if you want more wealth, time, and freedom, tell us about some of the people you've helped and how they've gotten more wealth, time, and freedom back in their lives.
Well, typically you're going to run a company and you're going to be building it, and it takes everything you got. And no matter what people want to tell you, the wife is going to come in second, the kids are going to come in third. More than likely, the business owner themselves is going to come in fourth. And when you run a business the way that I'm teaching you how to run it, then you're going to sell your business because you already paid your time, you already did the grind. Now you create liquidity. And with that liquidity, you can buy a business, a much bigger business that doesn't require so much of you. In other words, there's a time in your life where you're going to have to grind. It's going to suck. You're going to have to put in the time. You're going to have to suffer, sacrifice. You might get divorced. You might suffer a health consequence. You might go without health insurance for a while. Payroll barely gets made. But if you get through all that and you create a successful business, somebody will buy that business from you because they don't want to go through that pain. So how that business owner transforms their life into wealth, time, and freedom is they sell that business. And now that liquidity, let's just say you sold it for $1 million. Well, hell, you could buy a $5 million company, $6, $7, $8 million company. You could actually get up to about a $10 million company if you had $1 million. And you can literally take a quantum leap into wealth because it's not the love of the business that you're after. It's about the success of the business owner. That's what you're after. You're after how much success do I have as a business owner, not this one particular business. And that's where people, they make a mistake. They fall in love with their business because it's their baby. And it's not, something like we were talking about Brad Lee earlier. Brad Lee's business, part of his business is really his baby. And I don't recommend that he sells it. He's built a personal brand, which you can't really sell anyway. But, his Lightspeed VT, it's a phenomenal platform. That really is his baby. And I don't recommend people like that sell their business because he's got people that run it. It's recurring revenue. He doesn't have to be passionate about it. He had to be passionate about sales at one point. He had to be passionate about getting into different sales positions and passionate to craft his, to hone his craft. But once you're making millions of dollars a year and it's on autopilot and you're not burned out, then just keep your business. But most of the time, if you've made money and you've gone through the stress and the sleepless nights and the fights with the wife and all that, like you're kind of ready to move on, but you're institutionalized by your business. So you sell it, move up. And so I've helped countless people. Probably it's probably over $100 billion in transactions, and it just endless amounts. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I sell businesses that are $1 million, $5 million, $30 million, $50 million. And so all those people, they sell for one reason, because they're ready for something new.
Yeah, they want to write a new chapter, or they want to close the book on that. I didn't sell, but I moved on from. I had over 650 guys, and they were selling car care, and but it was suspect. They were suspect. There was just a lot of holes in the integrity of
car care. You probably mean
system.
like warranties.
No, car care, like wax. I pivoted and I went into software, and it's been a whole new journey. Now I have an enterprise level business to business software company where we help companies gamify the entire sales process, make it fun, to help them retain their people, saves them time and money, and retains their people. And it's great for the clients, but different game. I mean, some deals are $20,000, some are $100,000. And, but
so what you do is you take their training platform, you gamify it, and then you make it more fun to learn.
Yeah, that's essentially what we do. And we give them an all-in-one system. So all the front of the house, the sales, the marketing, the customer success, it's all in one platform, and it's gamified for every individual, whether you're in customer success, customer service, marketing, or sales. Mm-hmm. you can literally just gamify the entire process. And every person's dashboard's like Mission Impossible. It's all about them. It's not all about the company. So they want to use it. They use it. Most CRMs and software out there is not used, right? So now I understand this. If you want to invest or buy or sell a business, that you can get them capital. You can take them through the steps, right? To actually get capital to, you said up to $5 million for a small business. How do you do that if there's not enough revenue, or if it's not a profitable company yet?
Well, one can't go without the other. Shoelaces go inside of a shoe. So you can't get the money unless the business is cash flowing. So one goes with the other. So what people need to know about that, though, is it's not about getting the money for a business. It's about getting a business underwritten to get financed. So they're always financing the business that has historic earnings. Everybody qualifies for up to $5 million from the SBA, as long as they have the business with 3 years of profit and loss, tax returns, and balance sheets, and a full look at the business. If you have all that and you go through me, I know the banks that are actually lending, because most SBA banks don't really lend. They just say they're in the lending business for SBA. You got to find the banks that are hungry to lend. And so I have those banks. And so you find businesses to buy through me. You can find a business to buy online. Resources like bizbuysell.com. That's BIZBUYSELL.com. You can find businesses to buy across the world. But once you find that, you have to know how to get through that process, how to approach the broker, the non-disclosure agreement, the profit and loss statements, the balance sheets, the process, the SBA process. You have to know all that. You have to know how to conduct yourself. And so I teach all of that in my courses, but we also do the transaction. So not only do we teach it, but we can also say, hey, we'll do it for you.
Amen. I love do it for me. I'm fine with that. I'll do what I do. You do what you do. So how'd you get into this game, Chad? I mean, what opened up your eyes to this opportunity? And because you're 20 years in.
Yeah. When I was 19 years old, I built a company. When I was in my teenage years, I built that company, and it was just a shit business. Just a shitty job that I had. And a guy bought that business from me, and I couldn't believe that he bought it. I'm like, why would you buy this damn thing? And he said, Chad, I know what you mean, because all I had was a trailer and a couple lawnmowers. He's like, Chad, I don't have to go get the customers. I don't have to spend money on advertising, on salespeople. I'll just take your accounts. So I walked with $140,000, $135 actually. And I didn't use that money to advance into wealth. I didn't use that liquidity because I wanted to become a pilot. So I went and learned how to fly planes. In fact, I went down to the same flight school that the terrorists went to. I was in school with the 9/11 terrorists.
Wow.
And I was in the air on 9/11. And I was flying a plane coming into Orlando International, where George W. Bush was, Air Force One. And they diverted me. They put me to the Orlando Executive Airport, and my career was over. So what did I do? I had a kid on the way. I had no choice. I went and started another business, built it, sold it, bought another one, sold it, bought one, sold it. Like, that's all I ever did. And right around the time that I did it one time, people said, Chad, show me how to do it. And it was just friends, people that I knew in the business community. How'd you do that? So I started doing it. For them. And I started charging. So not only was I selling businesses for people, but I was owning my own companies and then selling them. And then I really fucked up big. In 2007, I had a company that was worth about $10 million. I could have sold it quickly for $10 million. And a guy walks in my office. He said, you built a hell of a business. Are you interested in selling it? And I said, oh, hell no. We're doing so well. And in 2008, my business was worth nothing. Now, that's bad enough. But if you compare and contrast that with a couple other guys I know, one guy that owned a company just like mine ended up selling it to a bank. And that bank paid him about $70 million. Now, I probably could have sold my bank. I could have sold mine to a bank for maybe 18 or 20. But that guy sold his business for $70 million. Then he put all of his money into Apple right at the right time. All of it. Who knows? Quadruple, 6 times, 8 times. Who knows how much money he made? And then to top it off, he opens up all the trampoline places throughout the country. All the kid places where you trampoline.
Yeah.
He owns all of them. So he took 70 million, put it into Apple, and then put that into a nationwide company that's making him several $1 million a month. So liquidity leads to wealth. I was enjoying the paychecks. In 2007, I was like, man, I'm making 30, 40 grand a month. Then I go to my title company and I pick up checks every Friday. I don't even have to do the work. I'm crushing it. He's crushing it. Because he sold.
He already crushed it.
Oh, bro. Through the roof, Yeah, that guy's probably worth $400 or $500 million because he made that one move, sell. That's all he did. He sold. And that's how he crushed it from that point forward.
What are the signs that you should sell? If you're in a business and you're crushing
Brad
it.
Disagrees with me, but man, every time that I talk to somebody, if they're not passionate about it, be careful. Because businesses are, in fact, ran on passion. So what I say is where there's no passion, there's no profit. So, Brad does a video, he's kind of mocking me. He's like, well, some of these guys out there say you need to be passionate about your business. No, you don't. You just have to make money. And I get what he's saying. But listen, if you're really at a point where you don't want to wake up every day and go do what you want to do, you're not going to be putting into it what it needs. And why do that when you can sell, create liquidity, and then really go do something that you're passionate about? Because life's too short to eat shitty food, to be in bad relationships, or to work a job that you hate. So you have a choice. So why not exercise it? Sell your business and go do something you love. So I'd say where there's no passion, there's no profit. When it's time to sell is when you're doing well. And most people say, well, I'm doing so well. Why would I sell? Well, because nobody wants to buy something that's dying. So since you're doing well, go ahead and sell because you're going to get max dollar for it. And then you get to go back to the drawing table and say, what do I really want in life? What do I really want in my life experience? What do I want to live? What kind of money do I want to make? What industry I want to be in? You get to go back to the drawing board. And that's a fun place to be. And a lot of people, they find themselves in their 40s and 50s and they go, well, I've only ever done this. I guess I'll just keep doing this. You don't have to. You can make a choice. You can go back to that day where you were a teenager and go, what do I really want in life? And you can have a life overhaul. And I get to do that for people, and it's really fun, actually.
And what do you think the biggest mistake business owners make when they try to sell?
Oh, that's easy. Most business owners, they run their books really dirty. They're running so many expenses through the company. They're not reporting the earnings on the taxes. And so when you don't report, you can't get the value. So that's the first and biggest mistake. Number 2 is they don't know the value of their company, and they're overinflated in their being. They're like, this company is worth $5 million. That's because they remember how hard it was. And it's like, bro, your company is only worth $1 million because you're only making 330 grand a year. No, I wouldn't sell it unless it was $5 million. It's like, dude, that math doesn't math. Nobody's going to spend 5 million to make 300 grand a year. It's not going to work. So I would say unrealistic expectations of your sales price, also living through your business and reducing the value of your company.
Yeah. And, you know, so, but that goes against the grain when you're talking about like SaaS or software as a service, and you know, you get public money. A lot of companies don't make money, and you know, but they are backed by venture capital like Amazon for 12 years, never made money, right? So
yeah. So SaaS companies are a little different, right? So if you build recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue, and you build it big enough, then somebody will buy it on percentages, not cash flow multiples. In other words, they'll pay a hell of a lot more for it because they're looking at it like it's a stock, right? So like if you invest in the S&P 500, you're going to make 10, 11%. That's kind of how they buy these businesses. But if you're going to buy a business, you're planning on making about 35%. So they buy on more of a long-term investment model. So yeah, you can sell your company for 10x, 12x, 14x on a SaaS company because they're only looking to make percentages, not multiples. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. And or you know, they want, you know, it's not easy to move a whale. Has been my experience because I've had tons of people reach out to me. One, they love the name, the sales machine, right? And then they find out that, you know, we can literally give enterprise level businesses business intelligence, performance management, and customer success all in one platform, in one place. But ultimately, they're like, well, when you're doing 5 million ARR, we'll buy you. And or if you're doing over 1 million, we'd love to invest, but they want a majority stake. And then this is my new gig, right? They want to see 1 million ARR, but then, you know, I'm worth 10x that as soon as we hit that.
Yeah. SaaS companies are a little different, like I said, because they're, like I said, you know, 1 million to 10 million. They plan on buying that to where they'll make 10% on their money. It's just a portfolio play. But that's not what Main Street businesses are sold off of. So if you're making $1 million on Main Street, plumbing company, HVAC, distribution, whatever, you're going to sell your company for around 3 million. And that means that if you buy a company that's $3 million, you're going to be making $1 million a year. But if you buy a SaaS company for 10 million, you're only going to be making $1 million a year. So the buyers are different for SaaS companies than they are for Main Street businesses, which is a totally different animal.
I like the animal because I want to sell the company, but I don't want, I mean, I want more than 10 million. Definitely.
I wouldn't if I were you. And the reason is because, and this goes into my teachings. If you make $1 million a year and you sell for 10 million, I can show you how to get way further ahead. Even if you sold your company for only 8 million, create that liquidity because there's nothing you can't do once you have that liquidity. I could show you, let's just say your company was worth 12 million. I can show you to sell your company right now for 8 million. You got the offer. And I'll show you how you'll be 10 times ahead than if you sold your company for 12 million. You need that liquidity because this is another mistake that people make. I'm not going to sell until my company is sold for 15 million. Well, that's very short-sighted. If you sell your company for 8 million and you think it's worth 15, sell it for 8 million now, leverage into another, what we call an NLB, the next larger business, and you're probably making 10 to 12x what you were making. And run that for 4 or 5 years. Do the same thing. Sell it again. Like, it's liquidity leads to wealth. Don't worry about huge price tags on the way out. Just get the liquidity and then move up because everybody in the world understands that if you want to buy a house, you need to put 10% down. Right? So if I'm going to buy $1 million house, I need to put 100 grand down. And then everybody knows that if you live in that house for 10 or 12 years, you've built up equity. If you sell that house, you could buy a $2 million house and keep your payment the same. But when it comes to businesses, people get attached. I'm not selling it unless it comes to a certain sales price. It's short-sighted. Just get your liquidity, move up, and get done with that of which you're not passionate about anymore. Get into a higher paying gig, and then rinse and repeat and keep doing it. All it is a stock. Remember the last word of my book, investment. All it is an investment. So take your chips off the table, use it like an investment, leverage up.
Yeah, and the book, ladies and gentlemen, is Quantum Stack Investing. So if you want more wealth, you want more time, and you want more freedom, you definitely got to pick up Chad's book. Chad, what would you say are the steps that people need to take in order to position themselves to work with you and or to make it happen so they can do it sooner rather than later?
I would tell your audience, everybody that listens to this podcast, just really pay attention to what you want in life. And that sounds, what's the word? That sounds kind of woo-woo. But what do you really want in your life? And if you're sacrificing right now to make cash flow, my hat's off to you. Like, I've been there before. I've done it. But what do you really want? And so if you want wealth, time, and freedom, my teachings get you there. So build a company. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just build a company that's making money. Even if you're only making $300,000 a year, I can turn you into a multi-millionaire if you're just making $300,000 a year, because we'll sell that company for nearly $1 million. And that $1 million will leverage into a $5 or $6 million company, making you $2 or $3 million a year. So pay attention to what you really want. Don't get emotionally attached to your business. You probably want wealth. You probably want time so you can enjoy your wealth. And you probably want freedom so you can enjoy it all. And that the only way you're going to get there, in my opinion, in my observation. And by the way, I talk to 3,500 business owners a year. Only 2% of them follow my teachings, and those 2% become multi-millionaires. So it gets exhausting to me because I'm trying to teach people what the answer is. They think I'm trying to sell them something. Like, no, man, I'm actually trying to show you the way. So sell your company and go get what you want. Quit caring about how you built your baby. It's not your family member. It's not blood. It's none of that shit. Sell your business, create liquidity, leverage up, make more cash flow, rinse and repeat. If you do that 3 times, you'll be worth over $50 million. If you only hold on to your business, the one business you have right now, you might sell as a single millionaire, or maybe you're a 2 millionaire. I can get you to 50 millionaire if you follow my steps.
And is it different multiples for, obviously it's not, and if it's, there's different multiples for all kinds of different businesses, whether you've got a landscaping business, a high vac business, a distribution business. If somebody was just starting out, Chad, and say they don't even have a business, right? But they want a business. What advice would you give to that guy as far as planning from the beginning? Get into this industry. This is the multiple. Put in the work, do the work, and then flip it.
Well, for all intents and purposes, just always plan on 3x. So if you can make $300,000, your business is worth $900,000. If you can make $1 million, your business is worth $3 million. And that money is money that you make, also what the company makes, and any justifiable add backs, car payments, car insurance, 401k contributions, key man life insurance, health insurance, automobile expenses, oil changes, tires. All those things are justifiable add backs. So you can live through your company as long as they're justifiable IRS tax code add backs. But if you're living out of it recklessly and not showing your earnings, then you're not going to be able to sell your business. And that's the biggest mistake they make. So really show your earnings between salary, company profit, and justifiable add backs. And be prepared to fall out of love with your business, because it happens. And I usually tell people that when you walk down the aisle with your wife, if you have your divorce attorney's speed dial on your phone, you're probably in trouble. If you're walking down the aisle with your business and you have your business broker on speed dial, you're probably in good shape. You should go into love with your business knowing you're going to fall out of love with it. Now, not to be off color here, but there's a lot of women out there, at least in the United States, that do have their divorce attorney on speed dial walking down that aisle. It happens a lot. A young, beautiful woman marries a rich man, and she knows this is part of her strategy. Now, you as a business owner, you should have that as your strategy. Plan on falling out of love and profiting when doing so, because far too many, roughly 97% of business owners, fall out of love with their business, go out of business unprofitably. But if you know you're going to fall out of love, you have an exit strategy based on your passion cycle. Where are you at in your passion with this business? Plan on selling in 3 to 5 years. That's what I tell people to do. Plan on selling in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a small business loan, you don't have a business, do you guide people? Okay, what business do you want to be in, and how soon do you want to exit? So because you can go out and get a small business loan to purchase a business, correct?
Well, yeah, you can go through the SBA to purchase a business. And so, people have different reasons why they want to buy a business. Some people want to be in a blue collar trade. Some people want to be in tech. It's all to the individual user. So they get to choose. But there's a business for everybody out there. There's 33 million businesses in the United States. And roughly 7 million of those are for sale right now. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. In fact, $10 trillion of businesses will sell in the next 10 years. 10 trillion. So there's a business for every shape, every shape and size, for every type of person, every stripe, every industry, every category. There's a business for somebody out there. You just have to start looking. You have to start learning.
If you're enjoying this episode and you're picking up what I'm putting down and what the guests are actually putting out there, do me a favor, like and comment what you liked about the episode, or even comment what would you like to hear? What topics would you like to hear in the future? Because believe me, it matters. I read absolutely every single one of them, and I want to bring you more and more value to help companies scale so that we can grow this podcast to make a bigger difference. Now let's get back to the show.
And by the way, your audience can go to chadpeterson.com. And that's where they can start learning, and they can get involved in my different programs to where they're really set up for success. So that's chadpeterson.com.
Within that framework, looking at your different opportunities that you have, what do people have to do to qualify to buy a business? If they've never ran a business and they want to qualify for that small business loan to purchase a business, what do they have to do to qualify for that? Do they have to have a job? Do they have to have income?
No, you don't. The business is always underwritten off of the cash flow of the business. So if you're unemployed, you don't have income, you're still good. You can buy a business. You have to have a 680 credit score, no bankruptcy, no felonies, and you have to have at least 5% down of the purchase price. So if you're going to buy a $5 million business, you at least need to have 5%, which is $250,000.
There you go, folks. And so, excellent. So I qualify, not that I'm looking to buy a business right now, but I'm always open. So as an example, I qualify. What are the red flags that people should see before they actually choose one of those businesses? Because this is your game, right?
Yeah, I mean, red flags in a business, that's real easy. If they're not reporting all their earnings, if there's some drama in the company, if there's strained relationships between the owner and the operators, that's always red signs, red flags. Although you can sometimes take a red flag and turn it into a green flag, because if there's problems there and you really get into the business and you realize that, yeah, nobody likes the owner, he's a pain in the ass and everything else, you can bring some solutions to that. In other words, they might have a big breath of fresh air when you're the new owner. So it's a red flag to watch out for, but you can turn it into a green flag sometimes. But be careful of not reporting all the earnings, backdoor dealings in the business where they've got relationships that feed them business that if that owner goes away, you don't have. That's a red flag. But most of the time, these red flags don't exist. And how you fix those red flags or prevent them from ever happening is you hire a good broker like myself, because I'm going to research and vet that company and make sure it's solid for you. I'm not going to put you in a situation that doesn't work for you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of business brokers out there, Chad. So how do people vest their business broker to know that they're getting the real deal? Because you and I talked about it earlier before the show. There's a lot of false prophets out there.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now that I have no respect for business brokers. I don't. One of the reasons I got into this business is because I did it myself. And a lot of business brokers, they think they're businessmen and they're not. Some of them are realtors that have thought they're going to go get in our industry. It's like, man, that's not how it works. They get excited about the big commission, but they don't have the knowledge to get through it. You have to have heavy banking knowledge, small business administration knowledge, really good with contracts and negotiations. You have to know about businesses inside and out. Like, there's nothing that I don't know about business. I can honestly say that. But if your audience is going to go try to find a broker, I got to tell you, I don't have respect for them. But if you're going to find one, make sure they're really dominant in their industry. Make sure they're really active. Make sure they have a lot of reviews. If they're a published author, they've written many books about it. Google reviews, that's a real good sign. I think I've got more than 300 Google reviews across the country. You want to find somebody who's really full-time, has had a lot of transactions, who's serious about it. If that broker's been on several podcasts and they make sense, that's something to look for, because you need to resonate with that broker, and that broker needs to be hungry and driven to help you.
Is there a regulatory agency out there or a certification? Like, lawyers have to have passed the bar. Doctors have to, be qualified. Like, is there anything out there? Like, a real estate broker has to have a license. Is there anything like that for business brokers?
Yes, there is regulatory agency that governs our industry, and we are licensed in every state.
There you go, folks. You can invest the best, but using the strategies of what Chad says, find people that are out there doing it, that have the real reviews, that are legit. And finally, so what can people do, Chad, they're ready to sell. They're ready to sell. What are the steps that they can take to get the maximum amount of money out of their business?
Well, just have good books, get with a good broker like myself, have your paperwork in order, have your 3 years tax returns, balance sheets, and profit loss ready, and really be ready to go through the process of letting go is what I would say. A lot of people can't let go. Now, if you're going to sell your business, you got to let go. You got to let a broker do his thing. You got to trust that broker and be a good guest in the process is what I would say. Be prepared to go through a big emotional journey, because that's really what it is. It's also a big financial transaction. And you have to not let it be too big, though. You have to minimize it in your mind and let the broker do what he knows how to do. That's the best advice I have for anybody that wants to sell their business.
Right on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want more wealth, time, and freedom, and you want to invest in a business, you want to get a business, you want to triple the value, build liquidity and wealth, Chad Peterson's the man. You can grab his book, Quantum Stack Investing, or go find him on LinkedIn. Thanks for being on the show, Chad.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, brilliant stuff, man. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com Click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.